Good morning, everybody, and it's great to see you all. My biggest challenge this morning is going to be to impart as many messages as I would like to impart in the time that I have available. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Most of you will be aware that in Australia, we've been in the grip of an underinsurance epidemic for decades. I firmly believe that right now, we have a unique opportunity to create a whole new perception with a brand new generation of clients. And I believe that the key will be the language that we use when engaging them in the protection conversation. So what I want to kick off my session with is I want to kick off with a session on making sure that you understand the importance of terminology. In my workshops over the last couple of years, I've had quite a few advisors who've expressed frustration in the risk advice space when they're engaging with clients, and they feel that they're imparting very valuable messages, but for some reason it doesn't seem to be resonating, and it doesn't actually seem to be getting through, and business is not eventuating. And when I dug a bit deeper into how they were engaging with their clients, it suddenly struck me that in many cases what we're doing is we're giving clients, especially younger clients, the opportunity to put up the shutters early in the piece simply with the terminology that we're using. So I'd like to create for you a short list of words and phrases that I for some time now have banned myself from using with clients, and I strongly recommend that you ban yourselves from using this terminology with clients as well. But where I'm banning you from using particular words and phrases that I'm sure you're using day in, day out, I'm going to give you a more client-friendly alternative. So let's kick off with the word that I'm sure that you use on a day-to-day basis with your clients. Why wouldn't you? And that is insurance. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time someone jumped for joy when you mentioned the word insurance? It's not a common occurrence, is it? And therefore, we need to be aware of the negative perception that we're creating with our clients simply with the use of terminology. And insurance is probably one of the best examples of that. So where you might have previously used the word insurance, I strongly recommend that you replace it with protection. It doesn't have the same negative connotation, and it means you don't get off to a bad start before you know what's happening. And while we're on the subject of insurance, let's also make sure that we ban ourselves from using the word insurances, because that just compounds the problem, doesn't it? Oh my God, there's more than one. So where you might have used the word insurances, I strongly recommend that you use personal protection package. And that will be a very relevant phrase very early in the piece, because if you actually use a client-friendly methodology, then you will actually be establishing with your client that what we will be making sure that every client has in the risk space is a personal protection package. Because if you facilitate them verbalizing what they actually want in terms of financial outcomes, then you will not be able to achieve those outcomes with the use of one product. So by definition, it will become a package, and a personal protection package has a certain resonance about it. Now, who uses the word disability with clients on a fairly regular basis? Yeah, it's part of our jargon, isn't it? It's part of our vocabulary. Well, I strongly recommend you stop using the word disability, especially with younger clients. Because consider this, for those of you who are in, say, for example, the 25 to 35 age bracket, then if I mention the word disability, what pictures are immediately conjured up? I would suggest to you they're pictures of wheelchairs, mental institutions, whatever it may be. It's an indication of physical or mental impairment. Would you agree? The word disability. So for younger clients, immediately they put up the shutters. This is not relevant for them because they're normal. Are they right or are they wrong? Doesn't matter, because perception is reality in the mind of the person doing the perceiving. So if you've created a negative perception, it's game over. So where you might have used disability, what do we actually mean by disability? Let's use what we actually mean by the word disability. Let's just use illness or accident, because no one can actually claim to be immune from illness or accident, or it's not relevant to them, especially younger clients when we're talking about accidents. So please, The only circumstance in which you can use the word disability is if a client asks you what the letters TPD stand for. And they don't do that very often, do they? It's hard to avoid the use of the word disability in that context, but that's it. Otherwise, use illness or accident. This is one you may feel is a bit strange. For the last probably 15 or more years, I have not done a single needs analysis on any protection client. And for the compliance people in the room, you may be rather surprised at that, but it doesn't mean to say I don't do any analysis. What I discovered a long time ago was it's a lot more client-friendly, a lot more fun and enjoyable to actually kick a needs analysis into touch and replace it with a wants analysis. Because, as Stuart said in his talk, if you focus on what the client wants, they'll end up with what they need, and sometimes more. And therefore, stop being the cat, become the cheese. And focus on creating. This is your opportunity to turn what historically has been a grudge purchase into a fantastic opportunity for your clients. Create more enjoyment. I think we all enjoy talking about what we want more than what we need. Would you agree? So have that conversation with the client and verbalize the fact that that is what you are going to do with your client. You're going to actually do a wants analysis, not a needs analysis. It's revolutionized my business. And the last thing I just want to share with you in this terminology piece is a lot of you use income protection in a conceptual context. I want to try and discourage you from using income protection as a concept. If you're going to talk about a concept that up to now you've referred to as income protection, use income replacement. Income replacement is the concept that we should be talking about. Income replacement will be the cornerstone of your client's personal protection package. Because if you ask them the right questions, that's what they tell you they want. They want to maintain their income status quo. In the face of any adversity, they want their income not to be impacted. And therefore, income protection is a product. And it's a product that can do a lot of the income replacement objective. But it can't do all of it, can it? You've got to combine income protection with trauma cover and TPD in order to actually create the personal protection package that can achieve the outcome of 100% income replacement. So income replacement is the concept, income protection is a product. What we're really talking about with all of these things is we need to be talking to clients about what products do for them, not what they are. Not the nuts and bolts, but the benefits that products provide for our clients. The sizzle, not the steak, if you like. So hopefully that will actually make a little bit of difference in the conversations that you have with clients. What I want to focus on for the rest of my session almost is the conversations, some new conversations perhaps that you can have with your clients around the miracle product, otherwise known as trauma cover. And I believe these conversations will again empower you to turn what historically has been a grudge purchase into a fantastic opportunity. The key thing here with trauma cover, especially with younger clients, is the education piece. We need to educate our clients a lot better around trauma cover, the miracle product. And I believe, think of this for a second. How many of your clients buy personal protection from you because they expect to claim? Not many, I would suggest, if any. They don't buy it because they expect to claim. They buy it just in case, don't they? Hence the grudge purchase, or the expensive necessity at best. Yeah? We've got to understand and help our clients understand that with trauma cover, that is no longer the case. Our clients should be buying trauma cover because they expect to claim. And we need to educate our clients that the way in which they get the maximum potential out of this product is by owning it for as long as possible. And if we're going to help our clients own trauma cover for as long as possible, what mode of premium payment must we be recommending? Level. We must be recommending level premiums when it comes to trauma cover, especially for the younger client. And we'll see why in a minute. But that is a crucial part of the education piece, is to understand that it's the ownership of the product, the sustainability of the product that will actually produce the maximum dividend. Now, what I then share with my clients is I share what I now commonly call the irresistible combination. In 1994, which was when the internet first appeared, Dr. Marius Barnard, who most of you will be familiar with, he's the person who we have to thank for having the miracle product to offer our clients, an eminent heart surgeon. He stated an opinion in an article that in 1994 we had an 80% chance of suffering cancer, heart attack, or stroke during our lifetime. An 80% chance. Now, much more recent research has actually shown us that the percentage likelihood of an Australian male aged 30 of suffering a trauma, as defined in a trauma policy, by the age of 70, i.e. within the life of the policy, is 68%. Now, according to my calculations, anything over 50% becomes a probability rather than a possibility. And that's why we need to move the client away from just in case to expectation of claim. Because the first part of the irresistible combination is a 68% likelihood of claim, providing you own the policy for long enough. But that in itself is not enough to motivate the client enough. Because if that was all that was required, then term cover would be the most popular product, wouldn't it? Because you can renew that all the way to age 99, you're almost guaranteed to claim. But why doesn't that motivate the client? Because they're dead. So there's nothing in it for them. But the key to trauma cover is that coupled with this likelihood of claim, we also need to actually bring to the equation likelihood of recovery. In the same article that I quoted from 1994, Dr. Marius Barnard quotes a medical survey done in the US, which showed that the recovery rate from cancer, heart attack, or stroke, even in those days, was as high as 70% if caught early enough. I'm sure you'd all agree that we've had plenty of medical advances and advanced screening techniques, etc., which has pushed that 70% recovery rate much higher. So now the irresistible combination, at worst, simply becomes a 68% likelihood of claim, coupled with a 70% plus chance of recovery. In other words, Mr. Client, with this product, as long as you own it for long enough, not only are you likely to claim, but you're also likely to be around to benefit. And I believe that is the conversation we need to be having with our clients, especially our younger clients. And do some research yourself to see how little the difference is for younger clients between 25 and 35 between a stepped and a level premium. And look at the difference in terms of cumulative premiums and affordability over the long term. It's a no-brainer for the client. So that was the first conversation I wanted to share with you. In 1994, those of your clients who were born around that time will, of course, be getting married and having kids of their own very soon, if they haven't already done so. So let's now bring another generation to the table and talk about child trauma cover. I believe child trauma cover flies under the radar far too much, but I really firmly believe that you need to make sure that you're recommending child trauma cover for every eligible child when you actually are selling trauma cover to the parents on their adult policy. It is a fantastic benefit, and it's cheap as chips. Now, I know some advisors have told me, but Chris, I don't really like having that conversation with the client because they don't really like to even contemplate anything happening to their kids. Well, don't have that conversation then. For quite some time now, I haven't presented child trauma cover as an optional extra. I've presented it as an automatic inclusion. And usually for 100 grand per child, and before you say, yes, it probably should be 200 grand per child. But 100 grand per child is not a bad start, yeah? So, absolutely crucial. What's the major benefit of child trauma? I used to think it was, well, that could be handy for medical costs, but no, the major benefit of child trauma is that any doctor will tell you that if a child suffers a major illness or accident, by far and away the biggest accelerator and facilitator of their recovery is going to be their ability to spend time with both parents. And the problem is that the breadwinner, in terms of compassionate leave, would probably get a long lunch, so there's seldom the option of taking that time off to spend with the child because they're not being paid along the way. So the money that comes as a result of the claim enables the breadwinner to take time off work to spend with the child. It's an invaluable facilitator for their recovery. So what we're doing here is we're adding a whole new layer to the concept of intergenerational advice. And the result of child trauma cover is that the parents, the clients, will actually achieve an invaluable benefit at a minimal cost should something happen to their kids, And as far as you're concerned, consider this for a second. If you did one new protection package per week, which involved 2 children, then what you are doing on an annual basis is you're creating a guaranteed new pipeline of 100 clients per annum, anytime between 2 and 16 years' time. Not a bad prospecting tool, is it? As a fringe benefit on top of what you're doing, obviously in the best interest of your client. So child trauma cover, consider that and make sure it becomes an automatic inclusion. So we've looked at the 25 to 35-year-olds. We've looked at the 0 to 18-year-olds. What about the gap in the middle, the 18 to 25-year-olds? Who recognized that trauma cover is a product that is specifically targeted at the 18 to 25-year-old age group? Anybody know that? Great, fantastic. It's what I call P-plater protection. You call it trauma cover. I call it P-plater protection in this context. Because in a trauma policy, there are 5 main accident-related traumas. And those 5 are listed on the screen there. Paralysis, major head trauma, severe burns, coma, and loss of limbs. Do you know why those 5 accident-related traumas are in a trauma policy? The reason is because, statistically, those are the 5 most common injuries sustained in car accidents. And if you had to pick a group of potential clients who, by a country mile, are the biggest exposure to car accidents, what group would it be? 18 to 25-year-olds, otherwise known as P-platers. And therefore, this is a really valuable addition. And look, I've had 2 P-platers in our household for the last couple of years, and I'm fully familiar with the emotions that a P-plater's mum goes through when she hears the car exit the garage with the P-plates on early in the evening, and it doesn't really get back to normal until she hears the car return to the garage, hopefully in one piece, and still with the P-plates on. It's a very stressful time. Anybody have P-plater kids in the room? Yeah? I think you probably know what I'm talking about. And I would suggest to you that if made aware of the opportunity to buy P-plater protection, I don't know of many parents who wouldn't jump at the chance, especially given the fact, once again, it's cheap as chips given the benefit that you're actually getting. And, you know, if a child has been on their parents' policy as a life insured on a child trauma benefit, it's the most natural transition to P-plater protection when they acquire the age of 18. So whichever way you look at it, I think that that's a new addition to your product portfolio that you may want to consider. The result of it, therefore, is that obviously the parents retain peace of mind should something happen to one of their kids in a major accident, and you also create the opportunity to tap into a virtually untapped market of 18 to 25-year-olds with targeted advice. So that's, I think, something to consider, and maybe when it comes to next Christmas, certainly, a marketing campaign to P-plater parents might be a good idea, because Christmas seems to be a time when P-plater accident incidents seem to ramp up somewhat. So a consideration for you later in the year. Okay, the last thing I want to cover off on is I want to cover off on what we probably will find is the biggest barrier to our clients obtaining appropriate amounts of protection, and that is cost. If it wasn't for the cost, then all of our clients would have appropriate amounts of protection, wouldn't they? If it cost them nothing. So anything we can do to lower the bar when it comes to overcoming the price barrier has got to be a good thing. Would you agree? So what I'm going to share with you, an engagement tool that I've now been using for many years to great effect, which I believe has the effect of considerably lowering the bar when overcoming the price barrier. Let's remember back from the beginning, it's all about perception. And this is a classic example of how we can actually create a much more positive perception around the cost of a personal protection package for our clients. That's just a snapshot of my new protection client in the last calendar year. So average age around about approaching 40, average income around about 90,000. Annual premium for their personal protection package was just over 3,500, and that represented 3.9% of what? Their income. What's the relevance of that? Does anyone in the room actually use the percentage that the premium represents of the income it's securing with their clients? Yeah? I'll let you into a little secret. Every 39-year-old on 91,000 will actually consider, will perceive that $3,565 is a hell of a lot more than 3.9%. So if we focus on what is perceived as less, by definition, we're lowering the bar when overcoming the price barrier. Agreed? If you like that concept, I'm going to give you a little idea as to how I introduce that concept, how I sow that seed for my clients early in the piece with 3 questions that I ask at the fact-find stage. So I suggest you, actually, if you like this idea, these are the 3 questions you need to ask your clients when you get to the superannuation section of the fact-find or the retirement planning section of the fact-find. And the first question I suggest you ask is, what percentage of your income is currently being allocated towards securing your income for after your working life? Would everyone agree that's an accurate description of what super is designed to do? And actually, while we're on the subject of terminology, that's another thing I'd recommend is stop talking about super. Talk about securing your income for after your working life. There's a long story attached to that. You can see me at the break if you want the full story, but I realized very early on when I came to Australia that superannuation wasn't as good as, well, it is as good as I thought it was, but clients don't recognize it. So I stopped using the word superannuation and focused on securing your income for after your working life. So the answer to that question for any employee would typically be 9.5%. Agreed? Next question, hot on the heels of that one, is, out of interest, what percentage of your income is currently being allocated towards securing your income for during your working life? And that, by the way, is an accurate description of what their personal protection package is going to do for them. It's going to secure their income for during their working life for themselves in the event of illness or accident, or for their family in the event of premature death. And what's the answer to that question more often than not? Nothing. Quite often nothing, and in my experience, never more than 9.5%. And therefore, off the back of that, the key question is the third question, which is, right now, tell me, which of those income streams is more important to you? During your working life or after your working life? What do you reckon? During, isn't it? Because anything that's during, i.e. now, is more important than anything down the track. That usually works against us as financial planners, but in this context, it actually works in our favor. Because what they've actually just told you is they've told you that there's 9.5% going towards the less important income stream and probably nothing going towards the more important income stream. And what I take the opportunity of doing at that point in time is I say to them that you may be interested to know, Mr. Client, that over the last 12 months, my new protection clients have deemed it appropriate to allocate, and I can build in a bit of a buffer, somewhere between 4 and 5% towards securing their income for during their working life. Do you think that might be an appropriate allocation of funds on your part? How powerful is that? Bring all of your other clients to the table. What do we call that? Peer group pressure. No one wants to be the odd one out. And if everyone else is doing around 4 or 5%, then why shouldn't I be? And it's still going to be half the amount that they're putting towards the more important income stream that's being put towards the less important income stream. And every time that the ugly spectre of cost rears its head thereafter, then you can refer back to the percentage concept. It's not normal that we actually are saying to ourselves, please ask me about the cost again. Bring it on, because I can bring all my clients back to the table to remind you what everyone else is doing. And whenever I present recommendations, sure, the dollar figure is there, but in brackets is the percentage that it represents of the income they're securing. And that's why also that concept of 100% income replacement becomes pretty valuable, because with the income during your working life, it's costing you 4 or 5% maybe to secure 100%. Compare that to the 9.5% it's costing you to secure what percentage of your income in retirement? Probably less than 50%. So which is the better deal? So I think I've run out of time. I haven't run out of things that I would like to say to you, but I've run out of time. If any of the things that I've shared with you this morning have resonated, then please feel free to jump on my website and buy my book, The Risk Workshop, because there's plenty more in there. And also, it'd be great to see some of you at my upcoming Client Acquisition and Engagement Skills Workshop in Sydney. That's on March the 22nd, and there will be some information on that left on your table during the break, so feel free to contact me if you'd like more information on that. Thank you very much for your time.